Welcome everyone. I hope all of you guys had a great lunch and a great break in between. So with your stomachs full, let's get on to a topic where we'll have our wallets full as well. And just reiterating the topic for today, AIOps and FinOps, cutting costs without cutting corners. And we'll start the discussion with this eminent panel, who probably looks into cloud cost like a mother-in-law from a daily soap, or has experience implementing AI that promises more magic than Jadoo did in Koi Mil Gaya. So let's start. Guys, so before I start off with the first question, someone once told me that Cloud Bill is like a villain, a Bollywood movie villain. It comes in very silently. It comes in with a lot of free credits. You have beautiful dashboards and you feel you are totally in control. But when the bill hits you, it hits you real badly. So the first question to the panel here is, where do organizations most commonly overspend in their cloud infrastructure and what practices can help control it? And I would like to start with thoughts from Ajit. You, if you would like to go ahead.
Hello. Yeah, thank you, Gaurav. Yeah, so I have been in the IT industry for about 13 years, out of which around 7 years is into cloud. Nowadays, FinOps and cloud cost is my favorite area because I see a huge smile on customer faces when the bill is cut in maybe in 30 or 40%. To start with, I have worked with both startups as well as enterprises. So when it comes to startups, I have seen a common trend, like they try to create a perfect infrastructure right from day one, right? So they will try to have microservices-based architecture deployed on Kubernetes. Maybe it can be on Amazon EKS, or it can be on JKE, or it can be on Azure. So they try to build the best possible infrastructure right from day one. Apart from that, they try to have sophisticated security, their WAFs, their proxies, all that stuff. So what I think is, even before getting into MVP stage, you don't need to invest such heavily into cloud. You can start your MVP development. You can do microservices, you can do the native development with all the best practices and security. But when it comes to infrastructure, you can start small. And when you have a vision of the product that this product is quite good and it can be consumed by millions of people, then you can try to scale. Okay, so that is what I have seen currently in the market. This comes to startups. When it comes to enterprise grade companies, what I've seen is they spend a lot in over provisioning, though they kind of over provision all the infrastructure. So I was also having a conversation with you, right?
Yes.
So, yeah. So I think over provisioning is one, and the utilization of the infrastructure is not that great, right? So enterprises can cut down on cost. This goes to compute as well as databases. When it comes to networking, there are third-party integrations, right? Nowadays, enterprises require a lot of SaaS products to be integrated. So there is a lot of egress networking cost involved, right? So that is a key area where people kind of miss, right? So there are options within the cloud. So if the SaaS provider has native connectivity with AWS, you can evaluate that to save on costs. And when it comes to object storage, which is often overlooked by the organizations, people feel that object storage is quite cheap. So maybe you can think about it later. I have worked with a customer whose object store was like hundreds of TBs of data, right? So we had to do the cleanup exercise immediately using Python, and then we tried to add the lifecycle policies. So these are few things that I have observed across the industry, both small scale as well as enterprises. Yeah.
No, that's nice, very valid points. Swami, what would your take be on this?
So we have been building products and hosting it on Azure, and of lately when we started kind of realizing that the cost is kind of creeping up, we went back to a few of the basic things to see whether we have kind of over allocated or we have kind of not utilized any resources to the extent that is possible. What surprisingly came out of that exercise is that we understood that a lot of resources that we kind of allocated were not properly utilized. Either they were overutilized or they were underutilized. So definitely three main aspects that came out of the entire exercise was that we need to have some kind of governance to kind of understand, and that's something which when I discuss with a lot of peers as well as, with partners. Even today when we were discussing, we kind of see that governance in something was missing. And you need to have, what we did was we then used governance and we identified that, what are the dev resources, what are the non-production resources, how we can kind of scale them down during non-working or non-utilizing hours. And we did the same thing for even production resources where, we knew that, those resources are not utilized. So we used a lot of AI aspects to understand what is the workload patterns and then kind of decided the, how we are going to allocate capacity over the time frame during the day also. So I think that is where, lack of governance is one aspect where I feel that, the cost suddenly creeps up. One other aspect, like Ajit mentioned, is the network. And usually the focus is on compute and the memory. The other aspects like bandwidth and storage and many other aspects of network, those get left out. But when you all put together, largely you will see that the entire architecture relies on these three aspects: compute, the memory, and the remainder of the things. The remainder also becomes a major chunk. So we also focused there without leaving it because there was very less we could do probably in case of allocation. So those are the two areas that we did focus upon. And now we are also trying to see that how we can capitalize on moving workloads across clouds or towards data centers or towards other aspects of hybrid setup, and see how there we can capitalize on cost and bring better, probably use the funds or whatever savings that we do and funnel it back. That's our lookout. But yeah, that are the few aspects that I feel we oversee, or many of us have overseen during early stages as well as we mature over the period of time.
Very valid points, Swami, specifically on that governance ones. So Mahesh, what is your take on this?
Since you led with a joke, which is the costing or the billing is the villain.
Yeah.
And since your name is Hirani, I'm going to lead us into a
It's
joke.
Hirani, not Ambani.
No, I know. If it was Ambani, I would be sitting much closer to you, trying to woo you, but that's not the case. Yeah, so what I'm saying is, I think what panelists say is right. So the key problem places we have is the compute, the network egresses and ingresses, and you have the general storage facilities and all that. That I think is the general point where people end up overspending. What I would, however, like to counter Ajit's point here is that you need a great architect very early on in the system, very early on while you're building.
Yes.
Right? Because the architect sort of has an overview of what the application does, what my infra is, what the billing is, what budgets we have set, right? And if you have a great architect, which in this case is a director as good as Hirani maybe, Rajkumar Hirani, not, yeah.
Yeah.
So as good a filmmaker, if he knows his plot, if he knows everything what's supposed to be done and how it's supposed to be done, you will end up having you'll end up making a movie that celebrates the hero and not the villain. If the architect is not right, he'll end up adding to the cost, end up essentially making the villain even bigger than the hero. Right? So that was the joke, I'm sorry.
No,
Yeah.
totally agree.
Yeah.
It's really important at times also to have a bird's eye view of things, because your micro view at times you miss the bigger picture. So you need that bigger picture view as well. So very valid point.
Yeah, exactly. So I would not like to add any more to what the panelist said, right? We all know that these are the general places, right? However, in trying to fight that, in trying to rein in that, what I especially follow is something that I call it a triple O setup, which is you basically put in your observability control center, right? So you build a control center where you have all the observability of all the resources that you have created, right? So you put in your tags, you're monitoring your costs, you put in your alerts, budgeting, and everything. So once you build the observability deck, that is when you sort of move on to optimizing it. Once you get the data, once you have the data in hand, you'll start to optimize it. Once you have optimized that data, I think you will immediately, so optimize is really the part where you will start seeing a lot of cost reductions, right? But to keep that in check is to where the third part, which is to continue the operation. You continue to operate but you also have like policies as a code or something like that, where you ensure that you do not again fall into that zone where you have brought down the cost, but you're bringing it back up again, right? So I follow this deck very religiously across my infra team, so that we end up reducing the cost and we keep it at that, So I think, yeah, that.
Great points. So moving on to the next question, and I see this question being on AI. Guys, early on when AI was introduced to many teams, and this is on the lighter note, so it was introduced as if it's Shah Rukh Khan of the IT industry. It was believed to be good at everything: comedy, thriller, action. It was only after a couple of failed implementations that people started equating it to Tushar Kapoor from Golmaal series, mute and unhelpful. And I hope that is not the case, that is not the image that you guys carry. So the second question in true context, in your experience, which aspects of monitoring and incident response can AI genuinely improve today, and where does it fall short? And Bishwajeet, if you would like to go on this.
Okay. Okay, thanks. So as Sir said, the AI, which is right now, it's mostly generative, and next one is agentic, and the third one is going to be, the robotic. Future is going to change for sure, but we are talking about DevOps and architecture. So which part? Honestly, everything is going to change. Right now, if you see, everything is logged in somewhere. Some part of our architecture we log, some part we don't. But if you start logging everything, AI is going to save all of us in architecture, in AWS wise, or say Azure side, or every cloud side. Why? Because you will know, like if you see your logs, you will get to know what is there. Like someone has breached something is not working, something is very spiked suddenly, something is wrong. We can understand, AI also can understand those things. Some of your servers are going high, so you need auto scaling, you need security enforcement immediately right now, like say someone is attacking, DDoS attack, something like that. Everything is going on, like not just infrastructure, not just security, not just cost. Everything is going to be saved by AI. So now if you have open up like some documentation from AWS side or Azure side, they have really good tools right now. We just have to integrate them. So I have seen them, I have explored them, and working with LLMs, if you integrate them, we are focusing on that. So what we are doing is right now labeling all those logs that we want to identify as security, cost saving, spikes, all of those, and then we have automatic responses, automatic incident creation, automatic everything. Like it's a job of SRE. Things are going to get killed. SRE jobs are going to get killed soon. Everybody has to be worried about it, not in terms of your job, but learning those things. If you get to learn all of these things, you will be saved. Yeah, but now what Gauravji, you have asked is where these things can saved. So you can create, like whatever I've said, if you have understood that, you can see AI is going to save cost, it is going to improve security, and your infrastructure is going to be very durable, reliant, and robust for sure. We have to implement it right now. Everyone has to do it, or people are going to get, lose their jobs. That's serious, okay? Yeah, that's it.
Those are quite striking points. So Pranay, what's your take on this?
Yeah, hi. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for being here. So when it comes to AI, obviously, it is going to be, somebody gave me an analogy at Google. There was life before electricity and there was life after electricity. Okay, so till life before electricity was, you had lamps and you had to do that, and you had mashals and all that, and then the electricity came in. So similarly so it was a kind of analogy, but I liked it. So you have to imagine AI with everything. I agree absolutely there, okay? But at the same time, we need to be careful as enterprises because it is a costly affair as of now. At a point in time,
Yes.
it will become cheaper, but as of now, it is costly. Not only because of the models and the PTUs and also what goes in terms of the infrastructure, the GPU and all that cost, okay? So, I mean, you don't want to, I mean, just to take an analogy of what is happening right now, you don't want an S-400 to kill one stupid drone, okay? You don't want that, okay? So you have horses for courses. Now coming to what it actually can solve. So I tend to categorize it in low-hanging fruits, mid-hanging fruits and long-term fruits. So first and foremost, where it can definitely help immediately right now is in terms of the false detections, false alarms, okay? So I used to work at MCX and it gets 32,000 hits every single day, which are attacks on the exchange, okay? So we get a lot of SOC calls, which are, I mean, 90% are false alarms, okay? So there is a lot of cycle time when somebody raises it, okay? And then somebody responds to it and a lot of time is wasted. So there definitely AI can help because it can establish a pattern that this is a false positive, it can do the learning and segregate. Second thing is obviously triaging the issues, okay? So you may have a plethora of issues. We used to get it from Certain, from NCIPC. So half of my time I thought was doing compliance actually rather than doing engineering, okay? So there again we need to prioritize and AI can do a fantastic job there actually because it can learn. Third thing is logs, okay? I think logs, data is the new oil, everybody says, but data is everywhere. And a lot of that data is in the logs, actually. So AI has the ability to couple with search. I mean, if you use Elastic and Google search with the AI LLM capabilities, you can get a lot of insights from the logs, not only application level logs, also system level logs. For example, where the CPU spikes are, an aberrant, okay, where memory consumption. This directly relates to the cost. So I think these are some of the immediate benefits. Obviously, there are long-term benefits in terms of trying to optimize it, trying to optimize the workflow, have agents in place, agentic AI, but these are more cost sensitive. You should have a proper use case for it, and then you can use it. But these, I think, the top three that come to my mind.
So Pranay, well said. Data is the new oil and we are trying to build a refinery there as well. But please don't quote me on that. My management will kill me. Okay.
No, Ambani will sell data also one day.
No, we are doing that. Okay. So the next question, and rather Swami, this is specifically to you. And reading this question makes me remind of my personal experience. So guys, whenever I am in a room with finance and technical or the development team, it makes me feel like Jaya Bachchan from Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gum. You trying to get two ends meet together, and it's a very difficult task. So, Swami, I would like to ask you, bridging the gap between finance teams and engineers is notoriously tricky. How have you successfully aligned them on cloud spending and performance goals?
I mean, when we originally started, the situation was more or less the same. I mean, they had their own expectations and, we had the product and engineering teams, adding to the cost, through architectures and through requirements. But we quickly learned that what probably is necessary is to bring everyone on the same page. The way we did it was, we kind of brought in key members from the finance and, kind of showed them what we are spending on, what we are actually trying to work upon. Of course, we had to do a lot of our homework to be able to give that kind of a data. So we started that as in practice, and I mean, it is little over a year ago when we started. And today there is visibility to them, where we are spending, where, I mean, to an extent they might not understand what is dev, what is production, and what is this and that. And of course, they will never understand the nitty-gritty. The initial problem was the devs used to explain, no, this is essential, that is essential. We're trying to convince them, this is essential for serving this kind of workloads and other stuff, which they had no clue upon. I mean, non-technical or technical stuff. So visibility in terms of giving them and explaining them kind of helped in involving them in the entire process. In fact, now we are in the stage where they are in a position to give us kind of inputs where they can become more flexible and where we can use that flexibility to our advantage to do what we actually want. So we have information sharing across teams to them. We exactly show them on a weekly basis where we are spending. We exactly show them what kind of monitoring that we are or governance we are doing to ensure that we don't overspend or we don't we are not capitalizing on the resources. So that kind of trust is what is now contributing to the entire exercise. So it's not just the product team or the engineering team or the DevOps team or any one particular group that is focusing on it. It is jointly working with them. And like I said, they are now kind of engaged in the conversation. They help us, kind of negotiate a lot of cost with the partners that we do. That's pretty critical for us to get that help also. And they do tell us that, what period of the year they could probably help us, what period of the year they find it very difficult to manage. I mean, those inputs were not existing earlier. Before it was only complaining of two sides. Like in product development, we always talk about, dev versus QA, the battle. The battle is the same here also, unless and until that trust gets formed. So I think visibility was one of the key factors that helped us establish the trust. Trust me, it took us time. It was not weeks or it was not days, but it took us months to tell them that we are doing. We showed them numbers also, what we did. And today, I feel there is at least a start to a joint process. And I mean, we will definitely be in a position to kind of build it more that gives them that comfort. So I think that comfort and that involvement in the process, like similarly how DevOps, when it came in, it solved one piece of the problem. I think FinOps also solves that problem, a match up with that entire process itself. So that's how we did it. I'm pretty sure others would have done some of these things in that aspect also.
So, Swami, just to add, my business head is a Marwadi. My finance team is Gujarati. I'm Sindhi. We three talking about trust on finance. I'll try my level best when I go back. Okay, but I think if you're done, then we'll move on to the next question. And sorry guys, I'm not a Shah Rukh fan, but all examples that I can think of are from Shah Rukh movies. So the next example that I'll first give you is from my favorite villain of all times, Amrish Puri. He did a movie called Karan Arjun, where he believed he had killed both of them, only to find them come back post-interval and make his life miserable. And I believe hidden costs are somewhat similar. So the next question to the panel here, hidden costs often plague cloud-native architectures. Where do these typically arise and how can teams proactively detect and manage them? And I'll again start with you, Swami, if you could enlighten us on this.
I'll take an aspect that, I mean, we started analyzing our cost on a weekly basis. So I think what we identified was, we started with certain practices, like we started tagging all the resources. First of all, to understand where we are spending, which products. We started mapping product workloads also, identifying, what products are contributing, are they matching with the money that we could earn from those. And the hidden cost that came up was on two large aspects, at least what we initially faced, was utilization of non-production resources. I mean, we quickly were able to identify after doing the tagging that, there are resources probably which are, when we are doing developments in terms of a way of agile and startup process, we often tend to create resources then forget about it. I mean, lack of governance is one hidden cost that kind of immediately hit us when we did the tagging. We found out that there are resources that are probably over allocated. There are resources which could be scaled down at or during specific times of the days. That also was kind of hidden for us. I mean, probably lack of processes. And, that's one aspect that we did. One aspect we already spoke about is, other than compute and memory, there were resources for bandwidth. There were resources where inter-region ingress and egress was concerned. Those all came into visibility. I mean, those small aspects coming into visibility when we started the governance, when we looked at, which aspects of the workloads are actually kind of consuming the cost. So, these are the hidden costs when we are even architecting it. I mean, we tend to focus largely on how to build the solutions. I mean, the devs is focused on building the solution technically, the product is focused on getting the features. DevOps, unfortunately, has to understand and put a plug that, while those two can work in conjunction, we have to also understand there are hidden aspects that come. I mean, those are never considered, and that was one of the major concerns when we were doing with FinOps, the engagement also. I said, a lot of things are coming up which you all are not even presenting when you are originally starting, So, that's where we kind of we are still trying to kind of put a plug saying that, we need to take it into consideration of all the aspects. I mean, we have learned that there are hidden costs. So while now we build for the future, let's at least try and keep a tap on it. So that's an ongoing process, evolving iterative also for that case.
No, well said. Mihir, what's your experience with managing this?
Hello. Yeah. So I'll share my personal experience. So at PlayerzPot, first let me tell you like what PlayerzPot is. So basically, in PlayerzPot is basically fantasy gaming application. Okay. So what happens when match starts at 7:30? We see huge amount of traffic at 7 because everyone wants to edit their teams once we have a announcement of players. So during the day, we have only like you can say 2,000 users of concurrency, but during this 30 minutes window, we have 100x of traffic. So what happens like hidden cost? So we have started with the cost tagging part, like Swami said, and we have found out that database AIOps cost was very high because we need to deliver user request by fetching data from database. So it was like $3,000 to $3,500 for that particular 30-minute window. So after finding out that, so as like Mahesh said, like you have to take a call on some kind of architecture. So we have moved that database operations from database to the caching layer, which reduced our cost. Apart from that, after cost tagging, we used to downgrade our machines by checking like how many machines and what is the machine is over provisioned, or we used to downgrade, shut down our machines for dev and stage environment by writing a simple Lambda script, which is during the non-peak hours. That is the one case. Also, we have implemented DMS service, so data migration service for our fraud mechanism. We guys are into real money gaming. So there are lots of frauds we can encounter during the peak hours or during the day. So data migration service is like it used to transfer data on real-time basis to encounter the particular fraud. But after some time we found out that like it is not necessary to transfer 100 of tables. Instead of we can transfer only 20 tables, and by that 20 tables we can encounter like that frauds are happening or not. One or two more pointers I have like related to architecture change only. We initially started with the CloudWatch in AWS, but by adding few metrics in CloudWatch, it was like we used to have a higher amount of billing. Then we have shifted that CloudWatch logs into a particular self-hosted Prometheus and Grafana. So make sure you decide architecture and the tools which you can use for huge amount of traffic. And the last part is the data ingestion part. So we have application performance management tool, like we are using New Relic right now. So it charges based on the data ingestion. So we are sending lot of user logs to New Relic. Then we have just divided recommended. So basically we have separated few logs, and we have separated few logs into our self-hosted ELK system, and the rest of recommendation logs to the New Relic. So make sure you have a particular architect related knowledge, and you just refine it continuously on weekly basis, whether this cost is necessary or not necessary.
Well said. So Pranay, what's your take?
Yeah, so I'll just give you an example why design is important. Why? Because cost comes with design. So I had the opportunity to go to Cape Carnival, where Kalpana Chawla, she went into the space. So the scientist, NASA scientist there, she was saying, she took us to the spot where it was supposed to land back. And it was there, they could see it 10 minutes away. And it burst in the air. And all the time when it was launched, they already knew that there is a problem. And what was the problem? $1 billion project. The small problem was that one tile chipped off. one small tile chipped off. As a result, when the satellite entered back into the carrier entered back into Earth's atmosphere, there was friction which caused fire, which and the whole thing went bust, and obviously people lost lives. So this is the problem with overlooking design, and that is the same problem which happens with cloud, okay, with anything worth the salt. So can't overemphasize design thinking when you go especially with cloud or AI. Okay, now I'll give you an example. Fortunately, I worked for a product development company, and we had multi-tier customers, state farms and Liberty Mutuals, like which are multiple LICs of the world. Everybody had their own personal preference for a cloud. And we were a small Majesco company. We couldn't buy licenses of all the clouds. So what we did is we went bare metal. Okay? We did all the donkey work of setting up a Kubernetes cluster ourselves, Dockerizing, imaging. Okay? But by virtue of that, we went into the driver's seat. So now we could put the YAML on AWS, we could put it on Azure, we could put it on. So idea is that to avoid vendor lock-in. Because if you are tied with the vendor will call the shots. Okay, so that is the first hidden cost. Two aspects. One aspect is you get vendor login. Second aspect is you have to learn the APIs of AWS. Lambda programming सीख लिया, but अभी मुझे Lambda नहीं use करना है, अभी मुझे GCP use करना है, तो क्या वापस सीखूं? I mean training time is too high, right? And there is a cost also. Second aspect where I think hidden cost is there. Assume that whatever you have chosen as your technology is perfect, but still you need to design it properly. Okay, so if you over provision, obviously it is going to be underutilized. Okay, like Mihir already mentioned. Okay, and I've seen this multiple times. At MCX also we over provision something. We wanted to spin a lot of test environments, 100+ environments actually, because whole exchange was getting transformed from one platform to another. Trust me, we didn't spin a single one, and we burnt money like hell. Okay. Now that project is over, so I can safely say that I'm not a part of MCX anymore. But the point is that this is the issue. What was a value proposition turned out to be a disaster. Okay. So this unless you think through what you want to do, I mean, there's no point going to the cloud, as Ajit already mentioned, right? I mean, you start small, start with a small POC. First, vet your use case. If it really solves something, then go for infrastructure and then do dynamic sizing, okay? From the lower to the higher, rather than the higher to the lower. Sometimes you may run into the problem that you will hit a wall, but it's okay, you can still counter for that. So that's the second thing. And the third thing is, I mean, easier said, but once you stick, I mean, here it is easy to be, a lot of people are here, must be bachelors, some are married. Okay, and in India, when you marry, you are married. Okay, unless you are Amir Khan, you can marry 4 times, but you are married. So if you are married to one cloud provider, it is very difficult to come out of that marriage. So it's better, I mean, you have multiple girlfriends, so you have multiple cloud providers. And only in context of cloud, I am happily married for 19 years.
No, I would rather call that, so everyone, the industry today is moving to cloud agnostic solutions. That is what it is, the way you define it. Well said, Pranay. And Mihir, I think Mandeep is waiting to answer that. You referred a lot to New Relic. Probably he'll answer during his question. Jokes apart. Okay, guys, next question. Biswajeet, of late, so before I jump onto the question, as usual, of late, one of the jodis that is working very well is Ranbir and Deepika. So they have beautiful chemistry, they work beautifully in tandem. And on a similar lines, so this question to you, how do you see FinOps and AIOps working in tandem to strike the right balance between performance, security, and cost optimization?
Yeah, okay. So the FinOps and AIOps, I see they are little bit, off chart on a different page. They're like 2 different chapters from 2 different books. But if they are, if they are merged together, if you tear out those pages and create your own book, you can save money. You can save money. You can increase your security posture. You can increase your, say cost savings. You can make your management happy that you're saving a lot of money. If you only do this, like you have to tear these both chapters and make your own book. But yeah, luckily we're doing that. So FinOps, if you see a lot of guys are working on open source projects, community, GitHub, you will find a lot of FinOps tools already available there. All are built on Python. I have been recently working on this FinOps technology here. What it does is like it chooses suitable saving plans for you, reservation plans for you in AWS, in GCP, SUDs, lot of things it does automatically for you. Just you have to give little bit of better understanding to this technology, the FinOps, and it will do automatically this for you. Like sometimes we are very strict to not give commitment for 3 years. Like if we are going for saving money to sustain model of cost savings, or cost savings for 1 year, 2 year, or 3 year, 3 year becomes very difficult. You don't know what is going to happen in 3 years. So what it does is like it gives you very custom design of the saving plan for you for 1 year. So that is better. So every year it proposes more and more of your infrastructure increases, the better, the more and more saving plans are suggested to you. It automatically identifies the unutilized resources for you. It gives us the proper reports. It does all of this, FinOps, especially FinOps. I love this tool. Like a lot of guys are already working on it. You can simply, you don't even have to work upon like by yourself. Just look for open source communities, join them, help them to understand. You can also be a part of it. Add your ideas there. Take a GitHub fork by yourself. Add your solution to it, or you just use it by yourself. That is FinOps. Saving money. Next is this AIOps, right? AIOps, I have been speaking before only, like AIOps, we are working on this LLM project. As last time also, like Pranay sir, you mentioned about, you have to add a lot of infrastructure. I don't think so. You don't have to pay a lot of money. You can host your own LLM open source models on your single EC2 instance or AWS or GCP compute. Just hold it. One single of instance can save like a lot of money for you. You'll be very happy to invest that much of amount on a particular server with some GPU in it, because it's not going to do a lot of things for you. It is just going to be your infrastructure side. It's not going to work on a lot of things, right? So you can train your LLMs. You can tell, this particular level of logs is suspicious to us. Monitor this, or this particular system label of security. Someone has like IAM logs, that kind of logs, audit logs, this kind of logs. You can have a pretty dashboard every day, like out of your 100 engineers or 10 engineers who have been accessing what. You can identify clearly, some of these engineers are not, supposed to access some resources, and they are doing this. Call them out, talk to them. Similarly, on cost-saving sides, you will get a lot of logs. You have to just put some labels around that, and you just get you continuously train your LLMs, telling it, these things you have to find it, and it will do things for you. That's it.
Well said. I thought we'll probably convince the audience that AIOps is still costly, but you're determined to take our jobs. Okay, jokes apart. So moving on to the next question, guys. This one is on multi-cloud. And I remember early on in my career when multi-cloud was introduced to me, it was introduced like the movie Shahenshah. It was portrayed as powerful, flexible, and the ultimate savior. My experience, I'm really sorry to say this, it's more like I view multi-cloud as hera-fairy. It's comedic, it's chaotic, and at the end, someone loses money. But I hope that is not what you guys believe. So the question to the panel here is multi-cloud living up to its promise of cost saving? Or is it introducing more operational complexities than it's worth? And I would start with Ajit, you.
Yeah, thank you for asking this question. So backstage, we were kind of joking around this thing, right? So who said or who told us or who gave the promise of cost savings and multi-cloud in the same sentence? Because I have been into multi-cloud space since last 6-7 years, and back in 2017-18, we attempted a multi-cloud active setup for one of the insurance companies. And to be honest, it was a operational and it was a nightmare kind of a situation for us. It is a buzzword. Multi-clouds seems very simple or attractive on paper, But as an engineer, it is a nightmare, right? So many of us can relate to that.
Yeah,
so,
surely.
Yeah. So when it comes to cost, if you are choosing certain technologies out of these multi-cloud providers, like if you want a scalable architecture, I will choose AWS. If I want to host an analytics application, I will choose GCP. If I am on a Microsoft shop, I will choose Azure. So if you architect in such a fashion, then I think multi-cloud will give that benefits, or maybe you can save on some cost as well. But if you want to implement multi-cloud setup for a single project, like you can have an active or an active passive setup, then it will be very costly, as well as it will be operationally very difficult. Yeah, so this is what multi-cloud gives you right now.
Yeah, thanks Ajit for those points. Mihir, what's your take on this?
I'm totally agree with Ajit. So you have to design your architecture strategically. You cannot put a particular single game engine on two different cloud platforms. So at PlayerzPot, so we are using multi-cloud platform functionality where we have CDN related. So where you get a best offers, cost related options, and the performance metrics. At that time, you can switch to multi-cloud platform where we have moved our CDN related everything on different cloud platform. Apart from that, if you have a different module related to AI or ML, so there are few feature benefits you can get it from different cloud platform. So let's say AWS is very good enough for EC2 compute related machines, but as compared to AWS, GCP will offer you good amount of technologies where you can directly run your AI/ML application within a single day and very quickly. So we personally at our end, we have developed one user persona within like 2-3 days on GCP using Vertex AI. So always try to figure out whether we should move this to a normal, different cloud platform, or we should stick with this. That's it.
And Pranay, what's your thought on this?
So I kind of agree with both of them. My simple take on multi-cloud is horses for courses, actually. As I jokingly said earlier, don't get married to one, okay? So otherwise you won't have.
I hope you remain married to one only.
No, I am married to one, but in terms of the cloud, because what happens is all these cloud providers bring different strengths now. They are starting to differentiate from each other. They are not like the commodities of the world, okay, that everybody is giving a lambda and this and that. So some point in time they would start to differentiate, okay, not only by cost, okay, also by capability, okay. So I hope it happens. At least now we are seeing in the AI world it does. So for what workload, what is optimum is, so first and foremost it gives a great bargaining chip. If you have 3 or 4 cloud providers, you can obviously, you will have some kind of control rather than having one, which is obviously a monopoly environment, which nobody likes, okay. So multipolar world, multi-cloud is the way. Second thing is, okay, then what do you want to put on the cloud? So I just to take an analogy, because it is recent, okay, this Operation Sindoor that happened, right? So our air defense system did a fantastic job, 100%. So I think applause for that actually, because it really did a fantastic technical job, apart from the emotional thing. Even Israel can't manage it with Iron Dome and the Predator. And it did for a fraction of a cost. Why? Because there was anti-aircraft guns, there was Akash Tir, which is our indigenous thing, there was S-400, though S-400 gets all the publicity, okay? But we didn't fire an S-400 missile for everything that came our way. There were 600 drones which was sent, okay? Do you think everything was tackled by S-400? No, okay? Maybe some J-17 or J-10s were blasted by S-400 or F-16, but basically we shot them down like this, okay, which is because that is, I mean, a dud drone is nothing, okay? And so you use horses for courses in technology. Similarly in cloud, I hope there is a differentiation and you use horses for courses. As you rightly said, I think for analytics, maybe Google is better positioned, okay? For something which is more reliably, where your performance quality attributes that matter is scalability, availability, and that is your number one priority. Maybe AWS is proven metal and it is better. Okay, when you want to try something new and you are okay to fail, maybe GCP is better. Okay, if you have cost and you are a Microsoft heavy shop, they do a fantastic job with Microsoft products. So maybe it is better. So I think multi-cloud is here to stay. Okay, whether there is an operational overhead, yes, there is. Okay, obviously there is going to be an operational overhead because you now have to do with 3 cloud providers and nobody works on a uniform protocol. Okay, everybody wants to be different. But some point in time, like Google is doing A2A, agentic agent-to-agent framework, there would be some kind of standardization for routine things is what I am expecting. Okay, so that you don't have to learn Lambda and you don't want to learn Azure and train your, but there is an operational overhead, but I think it is worth in the long run. This is my take.
So only thing to add is, you said companies don't like monopoly. There are certain companies, I can't name them. We'll discuss offline on that. Okay, so panel, I think we are short on time and there's 3 questions that are remaining. I would rather skip to the last one, allow Mandeep to have 1 question as well. So Mandeep, in the current scenario where organizations are operating in multi-cloud hybrid setup, which naturally gives them more flexibility, how can we keep cost under check? Are there any approaches which you have seen which can foster stronger collaboration between finance and engineering ops?
Thank you so much, Gaurav. It's a very interesting question. I really waited till the end to answer this. If anybody counted, I think more than 100 times we used the word cost. Yet we spoke about multi-cloud. It's really hard to create a balance between cost and performance, especially in a multi-cloud hybrid sort of environment. FinOps as a practice has been looked at in isolation with the cloud provider. This is where products like Datadog are creating a new benchmark when it comes to FinOps engineering. We are doing exactly what we do with observability. We are harnessing the power of correlation. When we look at cost, we look at cost in respect to your multi-cloud hybrid environment, your infrastructure at scale. We look at costs being generated through tons of logs, while we only need a bunch of it, which is valuable. But we need to find which bunch we need exactly. We look at the network traffic. We look at the different parameters of our technology stack. That is exactly what Datadog does. Give you the insights which are next to none. It gives you the comprehensive, holistic health of your cost coming across your entire technology stack. If your code is heavy, if there are network load which is particularly bringing the cost up, so that you can look at the holistic health of the platform while keeping sure the cost is under control. So that's pretty much about it. I don't have an Amir Khan analogy to tell you, but then maybe he does a good job in action as well as thriller, as well as giving us a concept movie. So that's pretty much how we deal with things.
Thanks, Mandeep. That were very valid points. I'm not sure if we have time for questions or we'll just simply skip them. Okay. So audience, over to you. Please feel free to grill and sort of ask as many questions as possible to the panel here. If anyone has any questions. Okay, the gentleman there.
Check. Yes, we have a question there by the gentleman there. Can I get the mic?
Thank you for all your thoughts. I think they were quite useful. One of the questions I wanted to know from you, since most of you have tackled the cost as a primary sort of a function, which are the tools that actually have you used? Do you use some off-the-shelf tools or some services provided by the cloud providers, or most of you ended up building something in-house to tackle the cost visibility and control?
So panelists who would like to answer that?
I mean, I think all the people who have actually done this, maybe they can share their experience, but anyway, you can decide who to answer.
Yeah, hi.
Sure.
Thank you for asking this question. So most of my experience has been with AWS. So in AWS, we have Cost Explorer, right, who gives a drill down details of all the costs, and there is a service called as Trusted Advisor as well. So it gives you an insight of what are the idle resources, what are the compute resources, whether you can optimize those resources or not. And apart from that, we use some third-party tools as well, which does multi-cloud kind of cost optimization for us. Yeah, I think that is it.
Pranay, I think you were trying.
Yeah, so I think so each cloud provider does one. I think there is, in Azure, there is Azure Cost. I think there is Prometheus, which is one which can be used. Also, there are companies like Datadog is one, okay, and there is Micro Focus. Also, there is some kind of monitoring. Now, it is basically what you want to monitor. So, I think if you want to monitor the CPUs, the memories, etc., these are direct cost elements, okay, storage. So, each public cloud provider will provide one, plus your, the kind of application integration and monitoring will also provide that. If you want to really go open source, you will have to do a lot of work, but you can use Elk also. So that is what I feel.
I think,
Mahesh.
I think what the panelists said, I do sort of agree with them. And at the risk of offending every single sponsor on the panel, I am actually an advocate for open source platforms, and trying to build things in-house as opposed to building. I'm really sorry, man. He's from Datadog. Yeah. So at the risk of, what I was saying was, I would like to have things built on within my team. We try to do a lot of observability tools, build in a lot of observability tools, so that we get a sense of, so what happens with most of the applications, with APMs, with every other tool, is that we have to sort of design our expectations around the what application provides. Whereas there are certain aspects where I would want to be able to see a level of data that maybe the provider does not support at the moment, right? So what we try to do is we try to push and build it in-house so that we get the exact data that we want. For us, it is more on how we can control aspects of, so for me, it's more about control than the ease of the application, right? So it is very easy to use an application, just integrate it and you're done. I think Datadog and every other, New Relic and every other teams do this very wonderfully. But building things in-house gives me a lot of control over what kind of data I want and what level of data can I sort of go deep down into, right? So I'm more on that side of the panel. Yeah.
No, Mahesh, even I would like to add that Geo, at least for FinOps, we have our homegrown tools that we have built upon. Of course, we do leverage a lot of commercial tools as well, but the overall dashboard that we have for a multi-cloud setup kind of a situation, we use homegrown tools, like you said. So I think, guys, we are done for today, and I hope with all these points, when you head back to your office on Monday, you feel like Uncle Scrooge taking a bath in his vault of gold coins. You have that many savings, and if you feel like sharing some with us, please feel free to do that. Have a great evening ahead and a great weekend. Thanks.